I have a few things that I want to mention before I start with this. This is very subjective, and we all have different tastes. Some people like a certain mount, others don't really like it. I'm not sure which one's going to be my absolute favorite one. I never thought about it, but we'll see. I'm only going to be mentioning the rare drops from the dungeons and raids of WoW, and so I'm not going to be mentioning the 100% drop mounts, such as the Twilight or the Black Drake. This is literally about rare drops. To rank them, I'm gonna take in consideration how old the mount is, how rare they are, the overall design, of course, how good it looks, like the effects on it, if it's lame, if it's not lame, the colors, maybe the lore of the mount. So this is the Infinite Time Reaver. It's from Time Walking. And then here we have a few ones from the holiday events, which drop from the dungeons related to that. And then we're going to be going through the expansions from vanilla up until the latest one in the War Within. So starting off with the Infinite Time Reaver. This is an awesome looking mount. I really like this Drake model. It's just kind of missing something, especially for a mount that is so rare. Also, there's one thing. I usually prefer mounts that are smaller. In general, I'm gonna put it in A. Then we have this sweeper that was released this year for Loves in the Air. I don't know, I never really feel like riding it in general, but it's cool. It's a cool mount. B, maybe. Then we have the X45 Heartbreaker mount. Really like this one. It's cool. It also has this heart here with an arrow and small hearts. I feel like I'm gonna set it at A. Headless Horseman. I'm a huge fan of it. This one is a little low quality because it's really old, but I really like it. It also flies. This is definitely one of my favorite mounts in the game. I'm gonna give it S tier. Okay, so here we have the Swift Brewfest Ram and the Great Brewfest Kodo. I'm just gonna say I don't really like these, so I'm just gonna put them at C. Okay, so now we're starting with the expansions. So this is the first dungeon mount that was introduced in the game. Rivendare's Death Charger. Literally, it looks like the racial mounts for the undead. It's good that Alliance can use this, but I still feel like it could have been, I don't know, a little more, like it literally looks like them. So I'm gonna set it at B. Then we have the 4 Encourage mounts, the battle tanks. I don't really care about them, especially that we cannot use them outside of the instance. This is definitely a D. Ooh, then we have the Raven Lord Anzu. I cannot even describe how much I like it. I think Anzu deserves an A for me. Swift White Hawkstrider. I like the Hawkstriders, and this is a Hawkstrider that Alliance players can use, which is awesome. And it looks good. I think B tier. I prefer it over Rivendare. Now, Rivendare's Death Charger has its like renown, you know? It's one of those mounts that people always talk about. Actually, I prefer it over the Hawkstrider. I would ride the horse instead of the Hawkstrider. You see this thing? I feel like it's very obvious. I'm just gonna hold it and I'm gonna throw it here. Yep. Period. Okay, so this is the Fiery Warhorse. It's very similar to the Headless Horseman, but this one cannot fly. I honestly don't really care about this mount, specifically that it doesn't fly, so I'm just gonna set it in tier B. Now that I'm rethinking, I feel like Rivendare should be the first one here. Blue Proto Drake, one of my absolute favorites, S tier. I think I prefer it over the Headless Horseman. So here we have 2 mounts that can drop from the same boss, the Azure Drake and the Blue Drake. I like both of them, but I prefer the Azure Drake, and I really like the old Drake models. I really do. I'm gonna put both of them A tier. Okay, I don't really care about this mount. The Grand Black War Mammoth. To me, when I look at this model, it's a vendor mount. I'm gonna set it at C. I think I prefer the Kodo over this one. Mimirin's Head. Is this gonna be controversial? I don't really like Mimirin's Head. I just find myself riding it sometimes just because it's, you know, everybody talks about it. It's very famous, but I'm usually not a big fan of mechanical mounts in general. Mimirin's Head, I'm gonna put it in A tier right before Anzu after these ones. Ooh, okay, here we have another S tier mount. Onyxian Drake. I really like this mount, simply because of its lore and because of its colors and just everything. This is S tier for me, and I prefer it over this one. Invincible. Absolutely love Invincible because of the lore, because of how it looks. Invincible is definitely S tier. It's definitely after this one. Where do we put Invincible? Definitely, Ashes of Alard is still number 1. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it here. So now we have the Drake of the Northwind. This is very similar to this guy. It's literally the same model. I mean, I like this Drake model, but this doesn't really have anything B tier. Definitely in front of these two. Here we have the Vitreous Stone Drake. I don't like this model. I think specifically because of the Sandstone Drake, because of how much I've used it before. Ugh, now seeing it next to these mounts, it doesn't make sense to me. It's fine, I'll keep it here. So now we have the Razashi, the armored Razashi Raptor. I like it, but after the Raptors we got in BFA, yeah, I don't really like this mount. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm just gonna put it at C tier in front of these. Actually, at first. Now we have the Swift Zulian Panther from the same dungeon, and this guy, I love it. I'm gonna put it in B. I'm gonna fix these. I'm gonna put the Panther right here. Actually, right here. Okay? This is where the Panther is. And then I prefer this guy over the Hawkstrider. I prefer it over this one. Now we have the Drake of the Southwind, same as this guy. It's literally right next to it. Now I prefer it over this one, because this one is kind of blue. Which looks a little better. Flame Talon of Elisrizar. Really like it. This is definitely an A tier mount after Mimirin's Head. And then we have the Pureblood Firehawk. Definitely. This is an A tier mount. I think I'll put it right next to this one. Experiment 12B. Okay, this is a very basic mount. I personally really like it. And I always feel so good when I'm riding it. So to me, this is an S tier, honestly. And I prefer it over this one. And then the Lifebinder's Handmaiden. I've heard of people having so many attempts on it, but honestly to me it was very common. Like I got the mount within a few attempts, and now when I eventually got the Blazing Drake, I had 4 or 5, I don't remember, Handmaidens in my different characters' bags. And I think this is also one of the reasons why it's whatever. I'm gonna put it in B. Right here. Now the Blazing Drake, it was literally the rarest one for me and it took me so long. B tier, but I'm gonna put it here. No, I personally really like this mount, okay? I'm not gonna lie. But not to the point where it's up above, okay? Astral Cloud Serpent, not a huge fan of it. I hate to say it, I know it looks so cool, I just don't like how it looks when you're riding. I get the concept of it. The boss, when you're fighting the boss, it's so cool. But when you're riding it outdoors, you can barely see the mount. This is a C tier to me. Oh, plus, forgot to mention, I don't really like the serpent mounts. Oh, definitely better than these. Definitely better than this one. Okay, so it's at the beginning of C tier. Spawn of Horadun. It's just another one of these dire horns. I'm gonna put it here. Better than these, for sure. Clutch of Jikun. I'm also gonna put it at tier C, but of course I prefer it over the Astral Cloud Serpent. Corcoran Juggernaut. This is actually pretty cool, okay? This mount is so cool, even though there's so many recolors of it, but this one specifically is still the best one. This is an A tier mount, for sure. At the bottom of the line. Ooh, Iron Hoof Destroyer. Okay, I did say I'm not really a fan of big mounts, but this guy slams. Quite literally. I wouldn't say it's an S tier, it's an A tier. I prefer it over Anzu. I prefer it over this one. But this is definitely the first one. So I'm gonna put it second place in A. Now I'm rethinking the X45, honestly. I feel like I prefer Anzu over it. And I prefer, like, if I want to mount either of these, I would pick Mimirin. I do like the fire... Okay, look, when it comes to this, because let's be real, this is an awesome mount. But the reason why I gave it this place is because, like, to a certain extent, it gets a little annoying to me, the wings. And I know this guy looks better than this guy, right? Flame Talon of Elisrizar looks better than Anzu, but Anzu holds a special place in my heart ever since TBC. So again, this is a subjective point of view. I do know that this thing objectively looks better than this one. Felsteel Annihilator. Ladies and gentlemen, S tier mount for sure. I prefer it over this guy for sure. This is hard. Okay, I prefer the Felsteel Annihilator. I prefer the Felsteel. Top 3 for sure. Okay, second place S tier, Felsteel Annihilator. Actually, third place. No, I would rather mount Invincible. Midnight. I don't really like this mount. Said no one ever. So Midnight is definitely an S tier. We don't even need to discuss why. This is definitely better than these two. Let's be real. Midnight looks better than Invincible. Okay, it's definitely number 2 for me. Ashes of Alar is still number 1. So now we have the Smoldering Emberworm. I did say I'm not including 100% drop chances. This is basically a 100% for a 5-man group, but it's a different type of 100%. You know what I mean? Plus it's so cool. I couldn't keep it off the list. This is an S tier mount for sure. I think I'll put it in front of Experiment 12. Actually, no, here. Just about here. And then we have these two baddies, the Fellblaze Infernal from Gul'dan and the Hellfire Infernal from Gul'dan as well. I personally prefer this one over the other one. The Fellblaze Infernal here, and this one right after Experiment 12B. Abyss Worm, again, as I said, I'm not really a fan of serpents in general. I feel like when they were designing it, they kind of stretched the head a little bit. This is an A tier mount. I prefer it over these. Yeah. And Tauren Charhound, one of the best mounts in the game, for sure. S tier. I'm gonna have to put it in front of the Fellsteel Annihilator. Okay, I think I gave Midnight too much, right? I mean, because it cannot fly. I prefer the Tauren Charhound, honestly. So Midnight is number 4. Shackled Urzul, amazing, no doubt. Especially, like, you know, the face. Now, there's one thing, I'm not a huge fan of the body of this model. I'm just gonna take the face in consideration, because the head, because it's just one of the coolest things I've seen in WoW, honestly. Ugh, you know? In a good way. So I'm gonna put this at S tier, right here, where it is right now. So now we're getting into BFA. The Tombstalker, I never really feel like I need to mount it. So I'm gonna put it at B tier, right here. I think I prefer the Blazing Drake in A tier, because I definitely prefer it over this guy, the Corcoran Juggernaut. So now we have the Underrot Krog. To me, this is literally an S tier mount. It's just so disgusting and so beautiful at the same time. My type of mounts. Ugh, and I still don't have it. So I'm gonna put it at S tier right at the bottom. It just looks cool. It looks dorky, you know? I feel like this is how it would sound. It's cute. Sharkbait is cute, but I don't really care about the parrots in general. Also B tier, but I prefer it over the mummified raptor. This thing is so cool, okay? Megagon Peacekeeper. I like the mount special and the way it flies. I feel like this is an A tier mount. It's just about here. Okay, so now we're getting into the raids of BFA. Gmod is an S tier to me. I did say that I'm not the biggest fan of mechanical mounts in general, but Gmod holds a special place in my heart because I do know how rare it is, I do know how much people like it, but for me, it decided to drop on my first attempt. And so I feel like I'm chosen for Gmod. S tier. Gmod or Blue Protodrake? Blue Protodrake. Now, the Glacial Tidestorm is definitely an S tier as well. I am going to put it in front of this guy. You know what? The Underrot Krog doesn't deserve an S tier. I feel like this guy should be here. Now that I look at it, I think I prefer Mimirin's head over Anzu. Okay. I just like riding it. It feels good to be on the Glacial Tidestorm, you know? Especially when you see your character just chilling on top of it. Really like this mount, so I prefer it over Gmod. Nihilotha Allseer, I don't really care about it, honestly. I still don't have it. Sometimes I farm it, sometimes I don't. I'll give it A tier, definitely in front of these. It is cool, especially with like the N'Zoth eyes on it. Prefer it over the Abyss Worm. So now we just got to Shadowlands. We have Marufang. I still don't have it. I'm farming it every week on every single character. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm not really interested in this mount. Especially that I have 2 other recolors for it. Slightly recolored. Very, very similar. This is a A tier. Actually, this is a B tier to me. I like them, but like, you know, I prefer it over this guy. And I prefer Sharkbait, so I'm just gonna keep it at 2. Alright, now we have the Tezavesh Gear Glider. To me, I really like it. Definitely, I like the animation when you get on it. I think it's an S tier to me. Right here. Actually, right here. Okay? Ooh, this is an S tier mount for sure. This is one of my favorite models in the whole game. Now, I personally prefer the Fallen Charger over any of these. To me, the Fallen Charger, if it was on this list, it would be somewhere in the middle of S tier. So this one, since I prefer the other one more, is like somewhere here. Exactly right here. I wouldn't say I prefer it over the Onyxian Drake, okay? This is an S tier for sure. I don't have Vengeance, so I don't know how it feels to ride it. Okay, I'm just gonna rank it based on how I think I would feel riding it. I think I would feel amazing. I would feel epic. I think I would put it next to the Sanctum Gloom Charger. Specifically in front of it, because it can fly, okay? Now we got to the Zareth Overseer, the Jailer's mount. I don't know what it is, but I'm not a big fan of this mount. So I'm just gonna put it in B tier. Now that I look at it, I actually prefer it over these. No, I actually only prefer it over this guy. So it deserves A tier, but right at the bottom of it. Now we have the Farok mount. I don't know how to pronounce its name. This is definitely an S tier mount. Come on. I'm just gonna put it here for now. It looks really good, but you know. Okay, so now we got to the War Within. Here we have Wick, which is a mount that I'm still farming constantly. It's good. This is a B tier to me. Actually here, I prefer these over it. And now that I think about it, Rivendare here. More like here. Now we have the Stonevolt mech suit. I like this mount, but I don't feel anything special. It's a B tier, but at the bottom of it. I do prefer it over the Corcoran Juggernaut. Is this fair? Okay, now these two, these look sick. The Soreki Skyraiser and the Ascendant Skyraiser. I personally prefer the LFR, like this one. I prefer this one better, more than this one. So I'm gonna rank this one an S tier and this one an S tier as well. But I prefer this one over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I still don't have either of them. They look dope though. This is one of the best mount creations ever. Also look at like all the web around it. It's so cool. Now I prefer the Shadowlands ones more. And of course everything before that. So I'm gonna put them like this. Final two mounts, we have the Prototype ASMR, which I'm farming every single week on all of my level 80 characters through LFR. I mean, it looks amazing, you know, but does it deserve an S tier? I think this is a high A tier. The Big G is definitely an S tier. I'm gonna put it here for now. When I actually get the mount, I might look at it differently. And finally, we have the Big G. I feel like there's a red line next to the Onyxian Drake, to the point where nothing can get close to these mounts. The fact that the blue Protodrake is between them, it's probably weird to like anyone. I personally really like this mount because of my experience getting it. It took me so long to get it, and then when it finally dropped, I felt like I won the lottery. Let's see if there's any changes that I want to make here. I feel like these two tier D as well, because I really don't like them. I've been thinking about Rivendare's Death Charger throughout this whole time of doing this, and I think it does deserve an A tier instead of a B tier. And I kind of prefer it over this guy. Just like this, exactly. Yeah, this is my list. This is my list. Would anyone change anything about this? I mean, I'm pretty sure every single player would change a lot in this list. So what I really like about it is that I never knew Ashes of Alar is like my absolute favorite mount. Even though there's one thing that I find a little annoying, it's like the effects that come out of it as you're flying. Sometimes it gets too much. Now when you're skywriting, it's not really a problem. The first time you write, it's like, wow, this is so cool. With time, it starts getting kind of annoying. But there's like a small fix, you just change the camera angle a little bit. But still, this is not a reason for me to like give it a lower ranking. I was not expecting these results.